It's just, I don't know if he actually did it, but I feel that he was definitely involved.
I don't have a clue who Kimberley Ballard is. She came out of the woodwork.
So, who is Kimberley Ballard? Well, she entered the media narrative as early as May 15, 1997. That's barely 2 weeks after the Ramseys gave their first interview. And although she went on to the television show Geraldo Rivera, and although she made certain claims, it is kind of hard to say, well, who is she?
Knowing his personality the way I do.
She called us sometimes saying she was going to the media. I don't know who she is.
But the fact is, even the police made an attempt to interview her, and so they wanted to talk to her for some reason. And so what was the result of that? And all of this information comes out in a Boulder press release number 44. And what is fascinating in this release is not only the reference to Kim Ballard, but also to DNA tests, the progress of the police investigation, and then coming all the way back to Kim Ballard.
You believe he's the type person who could commit this sort of crime? Your contact with him has obviously warranted.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, in this analysis, we're just going to go through a media release, number 44, released by Leslie Ahome. I think she was the spokesperson for the Boulder Police, and that was on May 15, 1997. Quote, Boulder Police received DNA test results from Cellmark Diagnostics on Tuesday, May 13. This material was sent to Cellmark on March 4th, 1997. Tests began the week of March 31st. There will be no additional information provided on the content of the test results by the Boulder Police. Now, what's very interesting with this is very early on in the Ramsey case, DNA samples were collected, they were organized, they were sent off, they were tested, and the results were calibrated and collated. Now, you better believe that these results were probably mentioned during the grand jury trial that took place, I think, was it October 1999. So this evidence was collected very early, and I think people are under the misperception that there was zero DNA testing done. Actually, there was DNA testing done. Well, what were the results? And again, do you think this is a DNA case if there was testing done in the beginning and that didn't really lead anyone anywhere in particular, or did it? Now, going further down through this bulletin number 44, police are still requesting a fifth handwriting sample from Patricia Ramsey. Now, bear in mind, this is on the 15th of May. They're still trying to get handwriting from Patsy. This request is being coordinated through the Boulder District Attorney's Office. It's incredible that 4.5 months after the incident and 2 weeks after their first formal interview with Patsy, the cops are still trying to get handwriting samples from her. You know, why couldn't you get it in 5 days? Provide a sample, check it. Okay, I'm not happy with that. Provide another sample, check that, and get it all done within a week. Why is it taking almost 5 months, almost half a year? What's also almost inconceivable is that the cops simply can't seem to pin the handwriting to Patsy, or for that matter, exclude her after more than 4 months and 4 samples submitted. Then going back to the report, Boulder Police are in the process of analyzing and evaluating over 13,000 pages of transcripts and various test results. This is less than half a year after the incident. They've already got 13,000 pages of transcripts. During this phase of the investigation, there will be a core group of 5 Boulder police detectives, 2 to 4 attorneys from the Boulder DA's office, and 2 investigators from the DA's office dedicated to this case. If you think about it, that's 9 investigators essentially, 9 people that are sort of at a very high level investigating a case. Why are there investigators at Boulder PD and the DA's office? And are they on the same page? And we know clearly that Lou Smith was hired to specifically investigate the intruder theory. They didn't say, Lou, have a look at this case and come up with what you think. Let the evidence guide you. They said, we want you to test and analyze and look at the possibilities regarding the intruder theory. Bulletin 44 goes on to note, since January 1st, 1997, 470 cases have been assigned to the Detective Division for follow-up. 364 have been completed. There are still 111 cases that merit follow-up which have not been assigned due to the Ramsey investigation. Right, so you can see just how the Ramsey investigation was sucking up resources at Boulder PD. And that's also something that the Ramseys never seem to acknowledge, is just how much work went into their case and how much the whole media circus led to, all of these resources that needed to be brought into this case, plus their team of lawyers. And then there is this perception that you certainly can't get away from. Were the Ramseys cooperating with the investigation? Well, what was being said in the public, in the media, early on at that time?
Because the investigation has taken so long, and because the Ramseys publicly don't appear to be cooperating with police, even some of their closest friends and staunchest supporters are starting to wonder.
You can imagine if there was a lack of cooperation, you can imagine how this would just aggravate the whole idea of resources. The resources that are already under strain are being applied for longer and longer, and budgets are being used up. And the press release actually names one case in particular, a murder, that's just been sidelined as a result of the Ramsey case. Listen to this. The investigation of last Friday's murder of Rudiger Jacob Chien and other critical cases have been sidelined. Adds Ella, we need to work other important cases and thus have reassigned some officers. Should there be a need for more assistance on the Ramsey investigation, we will call in officers as needed. Now, what this shows is far from the Boulder police not showing up to investigate the Ramsey case, as John has repeatedly insinuated.
The so-called detective that was there that morning, the only person that was there.
Despite this impression that no one was there, no one was dealing with the case, the Ramsey case sucked up so many resources, over 100 other cases were kicked to the curb or put on the back burner. And now let's deal with the Boulder press release as it refers to Kim Ballard, though not necessarily in glowing terms. Here it is. The Boulder police detectives Melissa Hickman and Jane Harmer were in Tucson, Arizona this week to conduct a pre-arranged interview with Kim Ballard. This interview had been arranged to the Tucson Police Department. However, after waiting 4 hours to conduct the interview, Miss Ballard declined to be interviewed. So it seems like she was a no-show. Something had been arranged, the cops pitched up, and then Ballard was a no-show. Interestingly, this was the second attempt by Boulder police to interview Miss Ballard, and they then say there will be no additional attempts to interview her. According to Detective Commander John Eller, at this point we would have to consider anything Miss Ballard may say as suspect. We don't plan to set up other interviews with her. And so this is definitely quite mysterious. Is Kim Ballard linked to the Ramsey case in any particular way? If so, how? Or is she not linked to it? If so, why has she inveigled her way into the cases? Was she just a weirdo? What is the true story in terms of Kim Ballard? Why did Kim Ballard so strenuously accuse John, even going so far as to appear on national television, and, she says, take a lie detector test, only to fizzle away into the ether? What do you think? I'm not going to take it further than that. I will be addressing those questions about what actually happened with that broken window in terms of what is my assessment of that. I will be doing that in due course. So look out for that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.